Good morning, and welcome to another episode of Leadership Stories. It's been a couple of decades since I've been in academia. This is, of course, my over couple of decades in the shipping industry. Talking about leadership, I have been a leader of sorts, both in commanding ships across a decade and then in academia for a similar period of time. The question that always arises in my mind is what defines good leaders? And while I can speak about leadership on ships, in this particular vlog, I will try to restrict myself to academic leadership. So, what makes good leaders in academia? Who are those people who will drive success in an academic setting? And there are some traits in my experience that I have noted very carefully. First and foremost, a leader in an academic setting must be highly conscientiousness. Conscientiousness defines levels of responsibility. A leader in an academic setting must be able to take their responsibility levels to a height where they place their organization, their stakeholders, their faculty above their own interests. This calls for sacrifice, and this calls for deep involvement and commitment to a cause, which we can carefully define as passion. So, an academic leader must be passionate about his or her job. Secondly, academic leaders need high levels of cognition. Cognition, in simple terms, is intelligence. Can you bring your intellect to the table? Do you have high levels of intelligence in and relevant to an academic setting? This must be indicative of how you've done your academics, how far have you reached in your academics, and what is the levels of resilience you have showed in acquiring academic qualifications along the way. More importantly, are you interested in learning all the time? And you're open to experience and a self learner. These are critical traits for an academic leader. Thirdly, and possibly the most important, is do you have high levels of emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence is a quality where you're able to reflect and assess your own emotional triggers, your own emotional states, and the emotions of your peers, your colleagues, and your other stakeholders. And you're able to use emotions to drive productivity, to drive results, and to drive and achieve goals. Emotional intelligence requires a lot of skill and a lot of experience. It doesn't really come easily, and hence people need to work upon it. Emotional intelligence is very important because in an uncertain and dynamic world, your team might be going through a sea of emotions. There is an emotional churn. As a leader, can you determine how you try to marshal these emotions not only in yourself but also in your team and take the team towards success? So, to sum up, in my experience, academic leaders need three fundamental traits: conscientiousness or high levels of organization commitment behavior and responsibility, high levels of intelligence or cognition, which is relevant and brought to the table as and when required, and thirdly, high levels of emotional intelligence, which defines how the academic leader interacts with his or her team and drives that team towards success. If an academic leader does not tick all of the three boxes that I have mentioned, they eventually are likely to fall short in an academic setting of today's world where dynamic decision making is required after problem solving of difficult problems that seem to exist in an academic setting today. Thank you.